Hi, I'm Jacqueline Rinksmeyer with the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Jared Fry, General Manager of Medina TV and Public Information Officer for the City of Medina.
We are pleased to partner with Medina TV with Jared Fry and Matt Homick to bring you this Candidates Forum. Candidates in contested races were invited to participate.
The views expressed by the candidates during these candidate forums are not those necessarily of Medina TV or the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
The goal of the Candidates Forum is to educate and inform, but you need to take the next step. Vote early at the Board of Elections or in person on November 4th. Thank you for taking the time to be an educated voter. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the 2025 Candidates Forum.
Joining us now in studio is Mike Stopa. He's the candidate for Medina Township Trustee. And Mike, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. First, just tell the viewers and the residents a little bit about yourself.
My name is Mike Stopa. I've been a resident of the township for 20 plus years. Former trustee in 2018 through 2021. I was also a former firefighter on the fire department. And pretty much that's it. Mm-hmm. Look forward to, to coming back into politics again if the residents will elect me.
Yeah, and that's perfect. Actually, my next question is, what made you decide to throw your hat back in the arena and run for trustee?
So in 2018 to 2021, if you remember, it was the COVID years. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of things that we wanted to do as a trustees, as a board of trustees for the community, and as some community events and that we weren't able to get to due to the COVID and that. So looking forward, I was like, that's fine. I might, decide not to do it again. But I always had the inclination in the background of saying, what could have been if we continued and brought some of the community events back or started community events? What could the community look like, now? So that's one of the reasons I'm back in the, trustee, fray, I guess, if you want to say, try to get elected again. Plus, just some of the way that the township's going now. We had some transparency issues before I took over as a trustee. We kind of simplified that a little bit. We put YouTube Live out so people can stream and watch our meetings live. They've kind of eliminated that now. Seems like the population of our meetings is starting to shrink again. We used to have a lot of people come. For the most part, when there's heavy topics, we have some main topics that came up in the township that we didn't really have a whole lot of residents voicing concerns or one way or the other on it. So that's one of the reasons I want to get back into the trustee position, is to kind of bring transparency back to the position and make people aware of how their tax dollars are being used.
Mm-hmm. And how would you explain the role of a trustee? What do you feel the role is of a trustee?
So the role of a trustee is to listen to the constituents, the residents of the township, make educated decisions on what they feel is best for the township, as well as what you feel is best for the township going forward. And you have to look at the big picture. You can't just look at, what's happening at that time of the spectrum. What's the big picture? What are we looking at going 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? And how are we aligned with, our tax revenue, and how are we communicating to the residents how we feel we should be going forward and not going backwards?
Sure. And of course, one of those balance things is you look at forward, like you said, the 3 to 5 years. You have that balance between residential that still grows and also your economic development base. You kind of have two different sections there of the township. How do you handle the balance between residential and the economic development growth?
Well, economic development, right now we have roughly, I believe, 400 some businesses in the township. We seem to be pretty much well set up with the amount of empty spaces. We don't have a whole lot of empty spaces left. So that's a good thing for the thing. But we always should look at increasing, going forward. Let's make it where we don't have 1 or 2 empty stores. Let's make it that we have 0 empty stores and continue on from there. And that's getting with the realtors and asking, hey, what can we bring into these stores? What is out there that might want to look at Medina Township to come in? And then on the flip side with the residents, it's continuing to keep our property taxes up, or I should say our property housing prices up, but decrease our taxes. I know our correct taxes have gone up. We've added some new taxes. That's one of the things we need to look at too. Is there a way we can kind of reduce some taxes here and there? It's not, inside millage, you don't really want to touch, because that's something that's out there. It's the outside millage. It's what have we voted on as residents to increase our, police force, our zoning or this and that. Can we look at reducing some of that here in, each year and not have surpluses in our accounts, but have enough that we can cover what we need, but give the residents some relief in regards to their property taxes.
Yeah, and that actually brings up a good question. How do you handle that balance of looking at maybe a major project or a major piece of equipment that needs to be purchased down the road? How do you work that balance from what you just said there, making sure you take care of that?
Well, that's something you communicate with your service department, your police department, your fire department. Hey, what do you see in the next 2 years that is a major purchase? You know, our fire department, we contract out with the city of Medina. So we'd have to get with the fire department and say, hey, you know, what are we looking at for equipment? We've given them several pieces of our fire equipment that they have. Where are we at with the rate of the age of it? When do you see it ready to be replaced? That's something that we have to look at on our budget. All right, they're saying 2 to 3 years down the road. Where are we at with what we have in our fire levy, our emergency service safety levy to cover a major cost like that? If it's, hey, we have excess, all right, then let's put that money aside and say, hey, we've covered this when you guys are ready for 2 to 3 years down the road. We have this money set aside that we can go ahead and purchase the fire truck. Same thing with the police department. You know, they need new police cars. Let's not buy them every single, you know, all of them at one time. Let's put money aside each year and say, hey, this is going to cover this truck or this piece of equipment or this police car. This one's going to cover this police car. This is going to cover some of your, you know, equipment that you might need. You know, redoing the ballistic vests for the police officers. You know, new cameras, new equipment, computers are added inside the cars too. So you have to look at down the road and budget at that time then for the road ahead.
Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned kind of the partnerships with the fire department between the city and the township. Is that something you'd like to see continue? Would you like to see opportunities like that even grow within the township?
I like what we have right now with the fire department, and I believe they're doing a great job. There's always, you know, let's sit down and talk. Where do we see, you know, the township? Where do we see our needs to be? You know, they're different than what we are as a township. They're a city, so their tax dollars and our tax dollars don't kind of mesh up in regards to what we can and can't do. But let's sit down and have a discussion. Hey, where do you guys want to be in the next couple of years? You know, they've increased their staffing. What's that going to cost us, you know, in regards to what we're going to pay you down the road too? So it's always a conversation with anybody, and that's what it should be. It should be an open conversation, and then you go back to residents and explain to them exactly what's going on, and not keep anything, you know, hidden or that. Always tell them what's going on so they're educated in regards to if there is a levy that comes up, they have better information in regards to how they should vote or what they should vote or, you know, how they feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned earlier we were discussing the residential aspect of the township. One of the biggest concerns now is just affordable housing for people. What would you like to see done in the township to assist with that?
For affordable housing, most of the townships pretty much built up already. I think we have one subdivision that's getting ready to go in off of Jefferson, but other than that, our residents' population is pretty much at a max. There's really no room for additional growth. It might be just looking at, is there some grants out there we can help some of our, you know, older residents seek some relief in regards to their taxes? And that might be something the township, you know, could look at as trustees, you know, at the state level or at the county level too. Talk to the county commissioners. Hey, what's out there that you might be able to help, you know, our residents, you know, reduce some of their taxes too?
What do you feel the biggest challenge that would be facing you if elected when you would first step foot in being a township trustee?
I think being able to sit down with the other two trustees and say, hey, what are we looking at? Let's all work together. And that's always been an issue. You get we come and go as, you know, quite a lot. It's let's sit down and let's all work together for the common good of the township. You know, what's your priority? What's your priority? You know, then we determine what's the best priority we should look at tackling first and go from there. And then, you know, each year sit down and explain to the residents, hey, here's where we're at. Here's what we've done this past year. Here's what we like to do, you know, going in forward to the next year. And I think that's the biggest thing is the communication and that lack of communication with the residents.
So how would you, and of course a unique situation with the townships, you're a little smaller government entity in terms that there's only 3 trustees. So when there are those times that you may not agree together on an item or something that comes up, how do you work to get to that resolution to keep things moving forward?
I think you sit down, determine what the residents want, you ask them. I mean, they're ultimately the ones that tell us what we should be doing for a township. Talk to the residents, find out, hey, here's where we're at, here's the situation, here's the way the three of us think we should go. We don't all agree. What do you guys feel is the best way for the township to go forward from there? Then we get their input, then we sit down again and say, hey, we might not agree, but what's best based on what the residents of the township have said, and should we go forward with that way?
Mm-hmm. And how do you handle that as far as the trustee conversation? Because, of course, with only three of you, you kind of have the sunshine laws that kind of step in there. How does that kind of give the viewers a little inner working behind the scenes of how you guys do that?
I mean, we can have a work session that is out in the open, too. You know, we could have, that could be bring the residents in that day during our work session. Hey, tell us what's important to you. Here's how we all feel and that. But it's all out in the open, too.
Sure. And so if elected, again, we're speaking with Mike Stopa, candidate for Medina Township Trustee. If elected, what's one of the first things you'd like to accomplish when you step foot in office?
Looking at all our financials and see where we're at financially. Like I said, taxes are a main issue across the whole county, across the whole state. Looking at what we're collecting tax-wise and determining whether or not we can reduce some of it. It's not going to make a huge difference in some of the tax rates, but at least give the residents a chance to see, hey, we're looking at trying to be financially responsible with your tax dollars, and we understand we don't need all this money right now, so we can eliminate some of it or reduce it a little bit, and going forward we might need to, keep it where it is. So that's one of the things, is just being out there financially responsible for what we're collecting from the residents, which we all appreciate what the residents have given up or what they've approved for taxes and that to keep our safety services and our zoning and all that top notch in the township.
And now I mentioned what you'd like to first do if you step foot in office. How would you judge yourself as a successful term of office when you get done with your term? How would you judge being successful?
Basically just that I felt that I've kept the transparency open to the residents. The residents have been able to come to me, ask me questions. I've been able to give them a straightforward answer, haven't been able to hide behind anything, and that they said, I've done a great job. I feel that, coming out, there were things in the previous, my term that we didn't accomplish due to some of the things, that let's continue on, let's go forward with some of those and see where we're at from there. But it ultimately comes down to what the trustees and what the residents feel as how they, how we did as a trustee, I should say.
Yeah. Again, speaking of Mike Stopa, candidate for Medina Township Trustee. Mike, you've been gracious and have answered all my questions. I want to give you the opportunity, if there's anything I missed that you'd like to touch on or anything you'd just like to tell the voters, I just want to give you the camera and feel free to take over.
All right, thank you. My name is Mike Stopa. I'm running for Medina Township Trustee. I look to bring as my focus points for the township as a trustee are financial integrity and transparency with our finances. I'd also like to continue with our community events and make our community pride more prevalent than what it is now. I also want to keep our safety forces, our zoning, our service departments up to be a top-notch level service and safety forces.
Perfect. Again, that's Mike Stopa, candidate for Medina Township Trustee. And Mike, thank you for putting your hat in the political arena, and I wish you the best of luck this November.
Thank you.
Thank you.